Front-end development. Before we jump into writing any code, it's important to understand something. We've seen how web design and web development are different. So web design and front-end development are also not exactly the same thing. A lot of people confuse them, but yeah, they play different roles in the website building process. Web design is about how the website looks, the layout, the color, the font, the general user experience, as I explained earlier. But front end development now is about actually building that design using code so it can work on your browser, so it can run on the client side. So you have modeled your design on Figma or on Canva or on a paper. So front end development now is turning those designs into reality using technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript so that it can run on the browser. So I like to use a analogy when I explain this concept to persons coming into web development for the first time. Let's use a car, a car manufacturing company, for example. They make the body of the car, the skeleton of the car, then they begin to beautify the car, begin to make the shape, paint, the color, the design, right? So the HTML is like the structure of that car. In this case now in web design, the HTML is building the structure of the website. The CSS is like the design. When they begin to beautify the car, the paints and the other shapings that they do, CSS is doing this to our website, adding beauty, design, shape to our website. Right? JavaScript is like the electronics now to make the car more comfortable and more interactive. This is what JavaScript is doing to our website, making our website more interactive and user friendly. So the JavaScript is like all the smart features in a car. Let's take, for example, your cruise control, your lane assist, your parking sensor, or even the self-driving system. Now, this is what JavaScript is actually doing to our website, making it very interactive and fun to interact with. Backend development. In web development, the backend runs on the server and handles everything from logging the user in to saving and retrieving data to processing the request and making decisions like who can do what on the website and when and how they can do it. You can imagine a car, no matter how beautiful it is, without its engine, it's not going anywhere. And the purpose of the car is to move from one point to another. So if your website is so beautiful and it cannot really carry out the features which it is supposed to, then it's not a web, an application yet. So with the back end powers the front end. Your back end powers the front end. So technologies that can help us achieve this, you can choose from the varieties of technologies: PHP, Node.js, Python. You can also even use Java for web development. Yes, you can also use Java, but in modern web development, Node.js, PHP is like the king of it. It used to be PHP used to be the preferred language of the web, but in recent times, technology hands are changing. Developers tend to move towards Node.js now because Node.js is like writing JavaScript on the back end. So you just have to understand JavaScript, and you can use JavaScript on the front end and also use JavaScript on the back end. But this is a whole different topic that we're going to discuss further in this channel. But these are just the possible back end technologies that you can choose from. Let's continue with our car analogy. So like, you don't see the engine of your car doing its thing, but it's really doing what it's supposed to do. It powers everything that actually makes the car move. I mean, the engine now. The engine powers everything that makes the car move. That is exactly how the back end is to your web project. The back end runs on the server and it handles everything from users logging in to saving their data to the database to processing the information, enforcing that a user can do what he's supposed to do. You know, when a user tries to log in, for example, to a particular platform or website where he has no account, what happens? Those feedback that comes to him is a back-end thing. So the first thing that the system does is to check the database to see if this user actually exists in that database. If the user does not exist in that database, there's a feedback coming to that user that you do not have an account, please register an account. These are what happens in the back end, and the user gets the feedback in real time. So just like an engine takes inputs from the pedal and the steering of the car, that is how the back end takes input from the front end. Like it takes input from the form, the buttons, and all of that to make things happen behind the scene. That is how it is in your regular car. You add a little gas and the vehicle moves faster. You brake, you touch the brake pedal and the vehicle begins to slow down. So you give the car input and the engine responds accordingly. That is how it is in also web development. I hope this analogy can help you understand what the front end and the back end is.